Hey, what's happening, y'all? It's me coming back at you again with another vid. So this is actually a video response, and I'll do another a live hangout later. I'm actually going to do it from my from my laptop, from the Google Hangouts, rather than the mobile hangout. So, well, it's not exactly a hangout; it's just a live stream, so it won't allow me to invite people if they want to come on through my phone. So I'll just do it from my laptop when I get home. So anyways, this is going to be a response to the John David Jackson, which is now this. I consider this a very infamous interview. Okay, actually, I'm going to go when I get home. I'm going to do a hangout on it too as a follow-up, because I want to get you guys' thoughts and opinions on it while we're live. Sergey Kovalev has came out. I'm not Sergey Kovalev. John David Jackson, who's formerly trained Sergey Kovalev, the former unified light heavyweight champion, and he has a lot to say, man. Oh man, I mean, it's a very lengthy interview, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick out the core pieces of it, and I'll give you my thoughts. But I will post a link to the article below, so you guys, in the description box, so you guys can take a look at it. I really recommend you guys go read it. But this is what he said here about Kovalev and his tendencies, okay, and his his abnormal behavior to some degree. Obviously John David Jackson has asked this, he was asked a question about his current status with Kovalev. He said here, quote, "By the looks of it right now, I'm not his trainer anymore. I was there for the rematch because there wasn't really anything for us to do. Now, Donis hadn't stepped up to the plate, but, that was a logical fight for him at that point." We're talking about Ward. So Don Stevenson didn't step up to fight Kovalev, so Andre Ward was a logical fight for him. Well, you know what? Again, that's a back and forth debate between, about the Kovalev and Stevenson situation. Yes, Adonis Stevenson ducked Sergey Kovalev the first fight, first time around, when he bounced over to Showtime instead of agreeing to the deal that they initially verbally agreed to for the HBL situation. So Stevenson bounced out of that, of course, and then Kovalev bounced out during the purse bid situation. So yeah, they both ducked each other. So let's tell the truth here on that. But anyways, I knew for a second, and John David Jackson went on further to say, I knew from the second Ward fight, on the second fight, that Ward was going to crowd him. Now, if you give Sergey Kovalev distance, and you're in trouble. Ward is a very, very intelligent fighter, so he knew going into the second fight that he had to crowd Kovalev. Now, what he meant by crowding him, he mean by swarming him, like Ward always does. He likes to swarm you, so that way he doesn't give you no chance at all of creating distance or giving leverage in your punches. And that's what Sergey Kovalev is not very good at. He's not very good at fighting from the inside, even though he tried to do it to Ward. And he had some bit of success. He had a little success, but he just couldn't keep up with the pace. So, and this is what Ward always does best. He did that to Carl Froch. He did that to Miguel Kessler, because these are guys who like to fight from a distance. And Ward is very good at swarming these guys and taking away their best weapons from getting that distance. But anyways, I knew, and this is what John David Jackson said, I knew that we could have won the rematch, but Sergey just started making money. He, it got to him. He got big-headed about it, and he didn't want to, he didn't want to trade hard anymore. I mean, every camp it just got worse and worse. This is the Mike Tyson effect, man. When these guys start to get these big paydays, they start to get lazy, man. And I always got to quote Marvin Hagler, the great, marvelous Marvin Hagler. Once you start, sleeping in these big, gigantic beds, these king-size beds or queen-size beds, and you be wearing silk pajamas, when you go to sleep, it's very hard to wake up from that and go train and do road work. So those habits got to Kovalev when he started to make these 7-figure paydays. So John David Jackson went on to say that on the fact he started to answer a question about Kovalev blaming him for the loss to Andre Ward, and this is what he said. He said, quote, "Look, Sergey likes to talk trash, okay? He said a couple things here and there. He's blaming me for the loss, but let me tell you this: you cannot blame me when you quit. All right? He quit. Once Andre started hitting him to the body, he was done. I told Don Turner in camp, that if Ward goes to the body, Sergey is done. He cannot take it to the body very well. So right now he's trying to blame me for his loss, but if you don't train properly for the fight, you can't blame me. You cannot blame me for things that you do not do in camp that makes you become a better fighter and win a fight." I have to agree. Couldn't disagree more. Actually, no, I couldn't agree more, I should say. Anyways, on the controversy on speaking towards camp prior to the fight. All right, he had to address this once again. He said, look, I got a call. I kept it under wraps. A call to switch camps. Okay, Sergey and I were going through some, tough stuff over the years because he's a real asshole, to put it bluntly. He's really bad. So I got a call from somebody from Ward's camp, and they say, look, what do you think about coming to our side? And then I said that, well, you would have to make it worth my while. Which means that I'll do it, but there's a price. But if they did this and they're going to call me a traitor and then a backstabber, but they don't know how this guy is in camp. All right. So think about it. You call me in January. The fight's in June. But you're dragging on. It got to the point that I was in the office. Every fight this guy, Kovalev, wants to cut my purse. He was a real piece of work. Oh, shit. So he's saying Sergey wasn't trying to pay him fairly out of his purse. I see. Okay. But I was even guaranteed by others that I would get my full percentage after the fight. But it was dragged out by Ward's side. It's not Andre's fault. Let me say this. I'm not blaming anybody. It's just that it didn't work out, so I stayed on Sergey Kovalev's side, but he didn't train. If you knew this cat in real life, man, you would want to leave his camp too. Hey, what's his name? Didn't Abel Sanchez go through the same troubles with Kovalev as well? Same scenario. Same thing. That's why Sanchez had to dump him. But same situation, same behavior. Now, on Kovalev's selfish behavior, this is what he's had to say. You know what? Sergey makes a lot of Russian people look bad here. Now, all the Russians I've trained, they're wonderful people, man. They will give you the shirt on their back. They'll give you a big pat on the back. I think that's what he meant. This guy Kovalev is a complete dick. He wants everything for himself. He's just a really selfish person. I hate to say this, but if I heard he's saying all these kind of stuff, but I hate to say it, but I heard he say all these kind of stuff, man, about other people behind their backs. I think that's what he meant. He's just that bad, but here's my thing. Well, you should just have left him. But my loyalty, this is what people were telling me, but my loyalty was to Main Events and his manager because they were always good to me. They always made sure that every fight I got paid, that I was supposed to be paid. But this cat right here, when he got paid, he didn't want to pay you. So I stayed for them. Wow, damn. Thoughts on Kovalev will work with in the future and how it work out. Man, let me tell you this. Everyone has had a hard time with him. All right, he thinks that he can do everything by himself. He gave me no credit. Main Events, no credit. He says that he done everything on his own. Every fight he became worse and worse, and all I can say is the next person who trains him better get a contract signed before, because if you won't get paid, which you're supposed to, so in other words, you better get a contract signed, so that way you can get paid properly. Now it's bad when everything that this guy gets, he embells on it, crusher on everything, his car, his house, everything in the gym has it, his bags, everything. When all the shit drops, he's gonna see how it's for him. So Main Events, they still need him, hopefully he'll be there for them, obviously, because he is their top guy. He's their biggest cash cow, sadly. And light heavyweight, he's such a hard time to make, he has such a hard time making the weight, first of all. So there isn't much he can do at light heavyweight right now. This other kid, Arthur Beterbiev, he was the person that I thought would have beaten Sergey. I would agree. You know what? I take that back. I don't know if Beterbiev can beat Kovalev. I don't know, but at this point, I will give him a very good chance of doing it. I don't know. But I will also say this, Arthur Beterbiev sure as hell would give Adonis Stevenson a run of his money. And I can see why Ivan Michel didn't make that fight happen. I can see why. And that's probably why Beterbiev is very upset at Michel, because he was promised certain fights, he never got it. So, and I bet you that one of those fights was against Adonis Stevenson and he never got it. So, yeah, but that's a different subject. I'll leave that for the hangout that I'm going to do later on. But anyways, the reason why I say, this is Don David Jackson, I'm going to finish this quote here. The reason why I say that is because is a tremendous puncher, and he would have went to the body. He would have broken Sergey down. Andre was just smarter, and he got to him first. Yeah. You know what? all I gotta say is that everything that John David Jackson said, that I agree with all the things he said. You know, he read, you know, it's my sentiments exactly, man, because this guy is just like, whenever these guys get these big paydays, they start to lose their disciplinary values. Okay, we seen that happen to Adrian Broner. We seen that now. We start to see that take to effect with Gervonta Davis, with Tank. I mean, it just happens, man. It just happens to these fighters. To me, I wish we can go back to the old days where if these fighters really want to get paid, they got to start taking dangerous risks. Back in the 80s, in the early 90s when they were doing that, man. But it seems like now when they're taking these low-risk fights or medium-risk fights and they get through it, it's like nothing else matters to them after that. You know, they become lazy. They just become so comfortable to the point that they don't really have to train hard. They start losing their disciplinary values. So I definitely concur with John David Jackson on everything he said here. Now, I would expect that Sergey Kovalev will respond to this, and I don't think he's going to do it quickly because he's at a moment of his life right now that he's not really focused on boxing. I don't think he really cares what people say about him at this point. But as far as the Kovalev fans, I know they're not going to take these words very kindly, and they're going to start throwing John David Jackson under the bus. Watch, they're going to start doing it. Watch. But at the same time, they cannot make up their minds who they want to throw under the bus because they threw Kovalev under the bus when Kovalev came out and admitted that Andre Ward was a better fighter than him. So he's made excuses after excuses after excuses after excuses. So, yeah. But, you know, to be all fair, though, that Ward loss, that Kovalev loss took a very, very telling toll on those channels like Vice Presenter and Thunderdome and you name it. So they couldn't get over that loss. Anyways, that's all I got to say. I'm out.